Hello, this is Tip Top Gaming here today with another video. Now today we're going to be doing something a little different. We are going to be doing a top, 8 in this video, but really what we're doing is we're ranking all of the current standard sets. As you know, either it's coming soon or they've already started. They haven't really clarified that. Spoilers for the next set, Throne of Eldraine, will have started, or they are starting. And with that comes the rotation of Ixalan, Rivals of Ixalan, Dominaria, and Core Set 2019. For those of you who don't know, rotation is when those sets no longer become standard legal. So I figured, since this is going to be the last time that this is going to be the biggest group of standard sets before Ixalan and those phase out or rotate out, I figured I would rank them in a top 8 format. Here's the thing, my last top video, I had it completely scripted, I have everything scripted, and it just kind of came off as boring, so I thought it'd be interesting to have you guys see me rank them live. I already have a little bit of an idea, just because I know which one I preferred playing, but I don't have them ordered right now, so why don't we get into this? So I'm going to start with what I'm going to classify as my least favorite set in standard currently, and this is due to a couple reasons. I think the set overall is really boring, hard to build around, and just doesn't have much value to it. And of course, I'm talking about Core Set 2019. So we're gonna go put that near 8. I think that's where it's gonna land for now. And like I said, this thing doesn't have much value. It overall is just kind of boring. A lot of the mythics are like super colored, not useful things, and I don't know, just nothing fun came out of it. There were 1 or 2 cards that I was like, oh, that's kind of fun, I guess, but overall the set was boring, and I think core sets aren't going to do well on this list. However, number 7, in my opinion, not, these might change by the end of the video, is not a core set. I believe, in my opinion, number 7 is Ixalan. Now, while Ixalan was a fun set, it didn't do much to the meta. And of course, when Ixalan was first released, it was part of a different meta with Amonkhet and all that, and it sold very poorly due to how powerful those previous sets were. Nothing in Ixalan compared. On top of that, the whole theme was tribal, and honestly, that means that a lot of the cards are useless outside of those tribal decks. Sure, we had a couple fun cards, kind of like Core Set 2019, but the value was lackluster, the fun was lackluster. The only thing that I think puts it above Core Set 2019 is in a pre-release or a limited event. It is definitely more fun than Core Set 2019, as it has central mechanics you can build around. Yeah. So, what is number 6? Now this one's actually kind of hard for me. Right now, these two I kind of already knew, but right now I am debating between Rivals of Ixalan, where is it? Sorry about that. Rivals of Ixalan, or Core Set. Wow, sorry about that. Alright, so I'm debating between Rivals of Ixalan and actually Dominaria. I was gonna say Core Set 2019, but then when I really thought about it, and you really think about what Core Set 2019 added, I think it's actually pretty good. I think these are the two I'm debating about, and I think I'm going to put them in this order right here. I think it's going to be 5 Dominaria, 6 Rivals of Ixalan. Now, again, Rivals of Ixalan is pretty much an extension of Ixalan, and while it did make Ixalan itself better, by it being, it increased on the same exact tribes, it overall was, just kind of boring as well. It did have more interesting cards, I think, than Ixalan, and I think the power level was higher than Ixalan, but it suffers from many of the same problems of Ixalan. It also, I don't know, it also was very outmatched by the previous standard set. So, yeah. And then Dominaria, again, kind of suffers the same problem as Ixalan, where Historic isn't as big of an issue as Rivals, well, or isn't as much of an issue as tribal, as artifacts are historic and those are printed every set. Legendaries are historic. Sagas have not been reprinted. I just feel like a lot of the cards, they're like, oh yeah, build a legendary deck, and there's a lot of flawed cards. I feel like in that execution. Uh, So I think that's part of the issue with Dominaria. It did have more value, and of course, one reason that set this low is they printed the worst card in Standard, which is really one of the best cards in two of the worst cards in Standard, Karn and Teferi. Both of those cards were terribly unbalanced, and so from a power level, I mean, this set had some of the most powerful cards, but past those, it was kind of boring. The sagas, I guess, are fun, and I think it's a cool mechanic, but I just didn't enjoy the set. Now, it's something to note. When it comes to these sets, and I guess I might be a little bit biased, I actually started playing Magic last year. I started playing around the release of Core Set 2020, or 2019. And it's kind of funny to think that those three sets are the ones that came out before it, and I'm not a big fan of them. However, to try to reduce this bias, I asked a bunch of friends who had played before then, and they kind of agreed with me in this order. However, next up, I'm going to put Core Set 2020. Overall, Core Set 2020 was much better than Core Set 2019 in terms of maybe not value. It was higher, but just the cards themselves. Their power was higher, and they kind of had to be, saying this is the last set in an 8-set legal standard. They had to be more powerful. Things like Chandra, and just, it really... Core Set 2020 made its own. It messed with the meta. Core Set 2019 was like a meta. I'm not gonna mess with that. But Core Set 2020 brought around some very powerful cards, which some people could consider broken, like Field of the Dead and Risen Reef. But overall, I think it's a better limited environment, as there are more defined themes than Core Set 2019, such as elementals. It is just. I think it's more fun mechanics. I think everything about it is pretty fun. And honestly, I just enjoyed it, and that could be some of the hype, coming from this, since it's the most recent set. But I think this set was a much better year than last year. But overall, I would have been happier if this was a normal set. But yes. Also, it's really nice because it reprints some of the cards, such as Shock, that I really like and hope stick around in Standard forever, pretty much. Next up, in terms of sets, I'm going to pick Ravnica Allegiance. Now, when you really come down to it, if you know the Standard sets, the top 3 sets are all the Ravnican sets. And I think that's because they were so easy to build around. Now, obviously, I started in Core Set 2019, and I was like, well, this isn't that powerful. And a friend was like, oh, in Dominaria, there's a legendary in each pack. And I was like, oh, a legendary? Like, a real legendary in every single pack? And, of course, that's not that amazing, because some of the legendaries aren't good. Legendary in itself is most of the time a holdback. You can't have multiple of them on the battlefield. So I skipped a lot of Core Set 2019, and getting into the Ravnica sets, that's when I really started purchasing stuff and, expanding my collection. Ravnica Allegiance is actually the only set I bought a box for, just due to the circumstances and timing and that. And overall, I like the set. It's really easy to build around, which is why I think it was a great set for me to start with, because it was like, alright, pick a set of 2 colors, build a deck around that. It's super obvious there's going to be a mechanic for each of those, compared to something like, I guess, legendaries, where it's like, what color should I do for that? I know it gives you more freedom in what you want to build, but I overall enjoyed the Ravnican sets. And I think Ravnica Allegiance was just a bit weaker than Guilds of Ravnica in terms of the guilds. While Simic is one of my favorite guilds, I think that the mechanics found in things such as Azorius were kind of lame. I think that Gruul is it's a powerful mechanic, but it's kind of boring. It's nothing super unique. And I guess, why don't I bring in the next one, which is Guilds of Ravnica. It had, in my opinion, better mechanics than Ravnica Allegiance, and I just enjoyed the guilds more. I still love playing Selesnya, which I think is the most powerful of the guilds. If you said, hey, you have to build a guild deck, like with the guild mechanic, not just the colors, then I think Selesnya would come out on top. And I enjoy Izzet. It's my favorite guild. I enjoy Golgari, even though its mechanic is kind of strange. It's fun to, mess with the graveyard. And it's just more fun than things like counters, deal damage to your opponent, either stronger creatures or faster creatures. Not really a mechanic. And then, I always forget the last one. Oh, and then I guess Orzhov's mechanic was fun, but still kind of boring, where I feel like Guilds of Ravnica were better, in my opinion. Also, I felt like the, mythics were more powerful and just more valuable in Guilds of Ravnica. Ironically, this is the Ravnican set I bought the least of. And then number 1, War of the Spark. While I do have my issues with War of the Spark, I think that in a normal standard meta, not in this crazy meta, it would be an amazing set. And honestly, this War of the Spark cheated from actually being down at number 7 to up at number 1. There's a couple issues I have with it. Planeswalkers. I was playing MTG Arena, and I love using Planeswalkers. But I hate when my opponent uses them. It's frustrating. It's basically like, hey, there's this bomb on this other side of the wall. I have to get over this wall, but hey, I'm not drawing the cards to get over this wall, so I just blow up. I hate Planeswalkers. I love Planeswalkers. I think it creates interesting dynamics in gameplay as to who do I attack? What do I do? Do I focus on taking out this card? Or, so on and so forth. It gives you more things to do with your turn. And when it comes to MTG Arena, there's a couple issues I have. For instance, MTG Arena currently, and I don't know if I'm the only one experiencing this, has been kind of laggy once you get once you have enough permanents on the board, and I'm not talking like an insane amount, just like once you have 4 Planeswalkers on the field and a bunch of creatures, it can start to get laggy, and I have a pretty good computer. I can run games really fast. I have an i7, latest gen i7, and a bunch of RAM, so it shouldn't be my computer's fault, and I've seen this with my friends as well. They're also having lag issues, and sometimes it feels tedious. I'm like, I don't want to activate these abilities. Why? Because I click on it, I have to wait a second, and I know this is more a problem with MTG Arena, not War of the Spark, but War of the Spark basically said, hey, you have a deck, add Planeswalkers to it, because there's a Planeswalker for every deck. But also, that's really fun. At the pre-release, that was my first pre-release. Actually, it's my only pre-release so far. Due to Core Set 2020, I couldn't get to it. Or I couldn't, things were in the way of it. But it was really fun to take the Planeswalkers and we got first place, and this was amazing because it was mine and my friend's first pre-release, and it was a 2-headed giant tournament, and it was just so much fun to throw out these Planeswalkers and, oh, do you want to attack the Planeswalker or me? And it creates a lot of interesting dynamic in Limited. I think it's really fun. I think Proliferate, I like the combination of Amass, Proliferate, and Planeswalkers as kind of the core mechanics. Proliferate boosts both Amass and Planeswalkers. Planeswalkers can boost both Amass and Proliferate. And then Amass is kind of the outlier here, but while it's not a powerful mechanic, it is a fun one. It's the definition of putting your eggs in one basket, and it's easy to beat. I just think it's really fun. If you guys want to check out a video, I did a top 5 mechanics video, and I believe inside of there, War of the Spark had 2 mechanics from that set, or in that list. Overall, I really enjoyed I enjoyed pretty much any set above number 7. Rivals is still fun. It's just not as fun. So yeah, that's kind of my conclusion. So, I just think that. So yeah, anything above the red, I really enjoyed. Even the core sets and the really just everything. I enjoyed these sets. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys want to leave your list of your top sets, or if you want to rank them all in the comments down below, that would mean a lot. If I get enough of those, I might do a video where I go over those and kind of see what the community thinks are the best sets. If you guys like this video, hit that like button and subscribe. It really means a lot to me. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.